My fiancé texted from his bachelor party. Accidentally slept with my ex. We're getting back together, and I'm keeping the ring for our future. I replied, thanks. Then I emailed him the $80,000 ring bill, which was in his name. And then I, Leona Hart, 32, became a woman sitting alone in a very quiet condo, staring at a $1,500 box of cream-colored wedding invitations that suddenly looked like evidence from a crime scene. The wedding was supposed to happen in 3 months. By morning, it felt like it had belonged to someone else. It started the night before, Thursday, 11:17 p.m. Mason was in another city for his bachelor party weekend. 3 days with his friends, led by his best man, Beck. I had told him to enjoy himself. I meant it. I trusted him. I was at home in sweatpants, half asleep on the couch, with a mug of tea going cold beside me and a show playing quietly in the background. Then my phone lit up. Mason. At first, I smiled because I thought it would be one of those silly late-night messages, something drunk and affectionate, something like miss you or can't wait to marry you. Instead, I opened this. Hey, so this is super awkward, LOL, but I ran into Jules, ended up back at her hotel, and we accidentally slept together. It just made me realize I'm not over her. We talked all night and we're getting back together. Sorry this is so last minute. We're flying to the coast tomorrow, so I won't be back. I stared at the screen. Accidentally slept together. Sorry this is so last minute. Like he had missed a dinner reservation. Like he had changed a flight. Like he was canceling a haircut instead of a wedding. My stomach didn't drop. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Everything just went cold. Then another message came through. By the way, I'm keeping the ring. It's a clean break gift, and I can probably use it for my future with Jules. Don't try to contact me. It's better this way. I read that one longer. The ring. The $80,000 custom-designed statement ring Mason had chosen himself. Not a simple band. Not something quiet or sentimental. A ridiculous, high-status, 3.5-carat piece he had fallen in love with the second the jeweler placed it under the lights. And here is where the story becomes very specific. Mason loved appearances, not just looking good, looking expensive, looking chosen, looking like the kind of man people envied. He worked in luxury branding, and he had a decent salary, but his spending was insane. Designer watches, tailored jackets, weekend upgrades, restaurants where the menu did not list prices. When we went to the jeweler, he already had a plan. Leona, he said, smiling like he was letting me in on something smart. It's my ring. I want it on my credit. A high-limit revolving line from a jeweler like this looks incredible. It builds my profile. I remember hesitating. Are you sure? He laughed and touched my hand. Baby, this is how people at my level move. So he opened the jeweler's credit line in his name only. The $80,000 charge hit his account. Our agreement was simple. It was his debt, his status piece, his credit move. But because we were engaged, I would help by making the monthly payments as a gift. I set up a recurring $2,500 payment from my bank account directly to his jeweler credit line. We had already paid 4 months, $10,000. And now he was telling me he was keeping that custom ring for his future with another woman. I looked at his message again. Then I typed one word. Thanks. I don't know what he expected. Rage, maybe. Begging. 50 missed calls. A dramatic voicemail. But I gave him silence. Then I opened my banking app. Recurring payment. Mason ring. Canceled. Effective immediately. Then I opened my email, pulled up the latest jeweler statement, attached the PDF, and wrote, Subject, our arrangement. Body. Per your text, our arrangement is over. This is all yours now. Thanks. Send. After that, I moved like someone else had taken control of my body. The condo was mine. I bought it 5 years before I met Mason. My name was the only name on the deed, the mortgage, the insurance, everything. Mason paid a small amount toward utilities and called it our place whenever it made him look settled. I changed the smart lock code. Then I emailed a lawyer my older sister had used during her divorce. Need immediate consultation. Broken engagement, cohabitation, asset protection. He is not on the deed. He has left the state with his ex-girlfriend. Please call me. Then the wedding. Venue, caterer, band, photographer, florist. Deposits totaling around $15,000, all from my accounts. Gone. I emailed every vendor with the same clean sentence. Due to the dissolution of my engagement, I am canceling the event scheduled for this date. I understand the deposits are non-refundable. Please confirm cancellation. By 2 a.m., there was nothing left to cancel except the version of myself who had believed him. I stood in the dining room and looked at the invitations. Cream paper, gold lettering, our names pressed into something beautiful and stupid. I picked up the box, walked to the building's recycling chute, and dropped it in. The sound it made was small, but it felt final. I slept for 3 hours. When I woke up, my lawyer had replied asking for a 9 a.m. call. The condo was silent. For the first time, the silence did not feel empty. It felt like the room was holding its breath with me. I was out $15,000 in deposits and $10,000 toward a ring Mason was now wearing for another woman. A $25,000 lesson. But the real show had not started yet, because the next ring payment was due in 5 days. And Mason was probably on a plane with Jules, admiring that $80,000 custom ring, thinking he had walked away with a prize. He had no idea the prize had his name on the bill. The quiet lasted exactly 5 days. 5 calm, controlled days where everything felt contained, like the damage had already happened, and now I was only cleaning up what was left. Then Tuesday hit. Payment due date. I was at work, trying to focus on a report that suddenly felt meaningless when my phone started vibrating nonstop. Beck, Mason's best man. I let it ring. Then voicemail. Leona, hey, so Mason's having some kind of issue. His card got declined at dinner, and he got an email from the jeweler saying his payment is late. He's freaking out. He said you always pay it. Did you forget? Can you just handle it? This is really embarrassing. Jules had to pay for dinner. Call me back. I listened to it twice. Embarrassing. Not the cheating, not the text, not abandoning a wedding. The problem was embarrassment. I deleted the voicemail. An hour later, my phone rang again. Celeste, Mason's mother. I stared at her name before answering. If Beck was panic, Celeste was strategy. Leona, darling, she said, her voice dripping with artificial warmth. I'm hearing some very confusing things from Mason. He's on his trip, just relaxing before the big day. There is no big day, I cut in. A long, sharp pause. He ended our engagement 5 days ago, I continued calmly. He's with his ex, Jules. Well, she said finally, her tone tightening, that's a discussion for later. The immediate issue is that you seem to have forgotten a payment. Mason is very distressed. He got a notification about his credit. You know how important that is for him. There's nothing to fix. Leona, she snapped, dropping the sweetness. You promised to pay for that ring. I gifted payments during the engagement, I said. The engagement is over. The credit line is his. The ring is his. The debt is his. A gift? She scoffed. Don't be childish. You don't just take back a gift because of a little situation. A little situation? He made a mistake, she said sharply. You're punishing him for it. He didn't make a mistake. He made a decision. He's on the coast with another woman wearing an $80,000 ring he expects me to pay for. Her voice rose. He cannot afford $2,500 a month, Leona. You know his lifestyle. Jules certainly can't afford it. You've trapped him. I've trapped him, I said slowly, by not paying a debt he opened for a ring he is keeping after leaving me for someone else. The silence this time was heavy. Then she said coldly, You are being unbelievably petty and cruel. Then he should return the ring. That ring is his. So is the bill. Another pause. I could almost hear her recalculating. Fix this, she said, or you will regret how this looks. I already don't care how it looks. And then I ended the call. Blocked her number. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. The real moment came that night. 8:02 p.m. I was on the couch, the TV playing something I wasn't watching, when the intercom buzzed. I already knew who it was before I picked it up. Leona, Mason's voice came through, sharp and irritated. Open the door, the code isn't working. Of course it wasn't. All communication goes through my lawyer, I said. What? What are you talking about? My stuff is in there. My clothes, my laptop. Open the door. You abandoned your tenancy. You need to schedule a pickup time with my lawyer. He's available tomorrow between 10 and 2. A pickup time? His voice rose. Are you serious right now? This is my home too. No, I said. It isn't. There was a pause, then his tone dropped. Leona, don't do this. Just open the door. Schedule it properly. You're being insane. I'm calling the police. Okay. I hung up. 30 minutes later, 2 officers were standing in the hallway outside my condo. Mason was there. So was Jules. Seeing them together in person for the first time felt strange. Not dramatic, not explosive, just clarifying. She was holding his hand, and the ring was on his finger. Ma'am, one officer said, tired but polite, we got a call about an illegal eviction. He says you locked him out of his residence. I nodded. This is my condo. I'm the sole owner. I handed him a copy of the deed. Mason was my fiancé and a tenant at will. 5 days ago, he sent me this. I showed them the text, the one where he said he wasn't coming back, the one where he said he was keeping the ring for his future. The officer read it twice. "Sir," he said, looking at Mason, "this message says you're not returning." "I was emotional," Mason snapped. "She's twisting it. I live here." "You stated clear intent to leave," the officer replied. "That matters." Jules stepped forward. "This is ridiculous. He's locking him out and holding his property hostage." "I'm not," I said. "His belongings are inside. They're untouched. He needs to schedule a time to retrieve them." "And the ring?" Mason cut in. "You're stealing from me." "I'm not touching the ring," I said. "You're wearing it." All eyes dropped to his hand. There it was, bright, expensive, and suddenly heavy. "The dispute," I continued, "is that he opened an $80,000 credit line in his own name to buy that ring. I was making monthly payments as a gift during our engagement. I stopped when he ended it." The second officer looked at Mason. "Is that true?" Mason hesitated. "Just a second." But it was enough. Jules turned toward him slowly. "The debt is in your name?" He didn't answer. Her expression shifted. Not anger yet. Recognition. Like she had just realized the beautiful thing on his hand came with a fuse attached. "Ma'am," the officer said to me, "this is a civil matter. We can't force you to let him in. He'll need to go through legal channels." "So I'm just locked out?" Mason snapped. "You need to coordinate a retrieval. That's standard." "You're staying with me," Jules muttered, but her voice wasn't confident anymore. As they walked towards the elevator, I heard her whisper, "You told me it was paid for." The doors closed, and just like that, the fantasy cracked. Mason had walked back into my building thinking he still had power. Instead, he left beside a woman who was beginning to understand she had attached herself to a very expensive problem. Late fees had already started. Interest would follow. And that $80,000 ring? It wasn't a symbol anymore. It was a bill. And this time it had his name on it. I thought the hallway scene would slow things down. It didn't. It only changed the battlefield. The shouting stopped. The calls stopped. In their place came something quieter and more calculated. The first sign showed up 3 days later. Mail. At first it was one envelope, then 3, then a stack. By the end of the week, it was a pile. Credit card statements, subscription boxes, fashion catalogs, bank notices, even a luxury gym membership renewal. All addressed to Mason. All sent to my condo. I stood in the kitchen, flipping through the envelopes, already knowing what this was. Not a mistake. A move. He was trying to rebuild a paper trail. Proof of residency. Evidence that he still lived here. If this escalated legally, that stack of mail would become an argument. I called my lawyer immediately. He didn't sound surprised. "He's trying to reestablish tenancy," he said. "It's common." "So what do I do?" "Don't open anything. Bundle it. Mark everything. Return to sender. Recipient does not reside here. Send it all back. We'll document it." That night, I sat at the dining table, writing the same sentence across envelope after envelope. Return to sender. Does not reside here. It was repetitive, but precise, like I was quietly erasing him from the address he thought he could still claim. We sent a formal notice the next morning. Any further mail attempts would be considered harassment. That should have ended it. It didn't. The second move came through email. Subject, wedding photography. I almost ignored it. Then I opened it and read it twice, just to make sure I understood. "Dear Leona, I was so sorry to hear about the cancellation. I've been in touch with Mason, and he explained everything. I know the $2,000 deposit is non-refundable, but I'd like to offer a compromise. I can transfer that deposit toward a new beginnings photo session for Mason and his new partner." I stopped reading. He what? He had called the photographer, told his version of the story, played the victim, and now he was trying to take my lost money and turn it into a photo shoot with Jules. For a second, I just stared at the email. It was bold, brazen, and completely in character. He didn't just want to move on. He wanted to reuse what I had built for him. I forwarded the email to my lawyer with one line. "Please handle this." The response came back within the hour. Short, clinical, effective. My lawyer informed the photographer that the deposit belonged to me, that it was non-transferable, and that any attempt to redirect it to Mason or a third party would be considered misuse of funds. The photographer apologized immediately. He said he had been misled. That word stayed with me. Misled. It was the same pattern. Mason didn't lie loudly. He lied selectively. Just enough truth to sound believable. Just enough omission to shift blame. The third move came a few days later. This one arrived in an envelope from a law firm. A demand letter. I read it once, then again, slower. By the time I finished, I actually let out a small laugh, because it was incredible. Unlawful eviction. He claimed I had illegally locked him out of his residence. He said his text message had been written under emotional distress and did not reflect his true intent. He was demanding $10,000 in damages for forced relocation and emotional harm. Then, property claims. He wanted half the furniture, the sound system, and even a piece of artwork I had bought 2 years before he moved in. All gifts, according to him. And then the ring. This was the part that almost made me admire the audacity. He admitted the credit line was in his name, but claimed I had verbally agreed to take full financial responsibility. He said I had induced him into opening the account. Now he wanted me to either assume the entire $80,000 debt or pay him $120,000 for the ring, damages, and credit harm. I sat back in my chair. He wanted me to pay for the ring, the same ring he was wearing, while living with another woman. After ending our engagement, it wasn't entitlement anymore. It was delusion. I called my lawyer. He listened quietly as I summarized. Then he said one thing. Good. I blinked. Good? Yes, he said, because now we get to respond. And the way he said it made something inside me settle. Because for the first time since that night, this didn't feel like something happening to me. It felt like something I was about to end. My lawyer didn't rush the response. No panic, no emotional language, no dramatic threats. Just precision. Send me everything, he said. So I did. The texts, the deed, the payment history, the jeweler statement, the vendor contracts, the bank records, the email from the photographer, every receipt I had. By the next morning, his reply was ready. He started with the eviction claim. Attached, Mason's text. I won't be back. Sorry this is so last minute. Don't try to contact me. My lawyer's wording was cold enough to cut glass. Your client's use of casual phrasing, including LOL, is inconsistent with his claim that the message was written under duress. Then came the police report. 2 officers had already treated it as a civil matter. No unlawful eviction, no forced lockout. Just a man who left, declared he would not return, then tried to come back on his own terms. Next came the property claims. Receipts, bank statements, purchase dates. Every item Mason claimed had been bought by me, some before I even met him. The response was simple. Mr. Mason is entitled to retrieve his personal belongings. He is not entitled to Miss Hart's property. Then came the ring. My lawyer called this section the cleanest one. Mason willingly opened the jeweler credit line in his own name for a custom ring he selected. Ms. Hart's payments were conditional gifts made during the engagement. Your client terminated that engagement by written admission. He has chosen to retain the ring. He cannot retain the asset while transferring the liability. I read that sentence 3 times. He cannot retain the asset while transferring the liability. That was the whole story. Mason wanted the look of wealth without the cost of it. He wanted the betrayal without consequences. He wanted the ring, the woman, the sympathy, the apartment, and my money. And for once, none of it was working. The letter ended with a warning. Any further frivolous claims would be met with counterclaims for harassment, legal fees, and improper attempts to establish tenancy. After that, everything went quiet for 2 days. Then Jules called from an unknown number. Her voice was tight. Leona? I already knew. This is Jules. I leaned back in my chair. What do you want? You need to fix this, she said. Fix what? The ring, the payments, the debt. He said you were handling it. He said a lot of things. A pause. He told me it was paid off, she said. That it was basically a gift. That everything was taken care of. I didn't answer, because she already knew. I took it to a jeweler here, she continued, quieter now. They said resale on a custom piece like that is maybe $30,000. There it was, the real number. Not the fantasy, not the lighted display case, reality. He's $50,000 underwater, she said. And the interest is insane. He's getting calls, emails, late fees. They've already raised the rate. That sounds like something Mason needs to handle. You loved him, she said suddenly. You were going to marry him. I did love him. Then help him. This will ruin him. I looked toward the window. Is he still wearing it? She hesitated. Yes. Then he can pay for it. You're cold. No, I said, I'm finished. She hung up. And for the first time, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel vindicated. I only felt clear. The ring wasn't love. It wasn't commitment. It wasn't a future. It was a number. And that number was catching up to him. Friday morning came with a quiet that felt final. My lawyer had given me clear instructions the night before. Be polite. Be neutral. No arguments. Pack everything. Itemize it. Put it by the door. So I did. Clothes, shoes, his laptop, chargers, toiletries, watches, cables he never used but refused to throw away. even the ridiculous stack of unopened skincare products he insisted were an investment. 14 boxes, labeled, documented, lined up neatly by the entryway like a quiet inventory of a life that no longer belonged here. At exactly 10 a.m., the knock came. When I opened the door, the hallway was already full. The same officer from before, my lawyer standing calmly beside him. And across from them, Mason, Celeste, Beck. No Jules. That told me everything I needed to know. All right, the officer said. Here's how this works. Ms. Hart remains inside. Mr. Mason, you and your companions collect the boxes by the entryway. No one moves further into the apartment. No confrontation. You take your belongings and leave. Understood? Mason nodded. Barely. He looked different. Not the polished, confident man who cared about how everything looked. His eyes were tired. His jaw was tight. His movements were restrained. Celeste, on the other hand, looked ready for war. I stepped aside and opened the door fully. They saw the boxes. All 14. That's it? Beck said immediately. He has way more stuff than that. Everything he listed through his lawyer is there, I replied. Celeste scanned the boxes. You expect us to believe this is everything? Yes. I just need to check the bathroom, she said, moving to step inside. My lawyer stepped in front of her instantly. Ma'am, you will remain in the entryway. This is ridiculous, she snapped. He's probably kept valuable items. Like what? I asked. The serving platter my mother gave him. Box 4, I said, kitchen. She froze for half a second. Because she knew I was right. Because I had packed everything. One by one, they started moving the boxes. No one spoke. Not Beck. Not Celeste. Not even Mason. He picked up a box, carried it to the elevator, came back, picked up another. Mechanical. Detached. Like he was following instructions he still didn't accept. Until the last box. A smaller one. Jewelry. Personal items. The kind of things people notice when they are gone. He picked it up, then stopped. Slowly, he looked at me. Really looked. You did this, he said quietly. With what? You planned it, he said, his grip tightening on the box. You knew this would happen. You let me do it. I felt something shift in my chest. Recognition. You let me open that account, he continued. You knew I couldn't afford it on my own. You knew if anything went wrong. If anything went wrong? He stepped closer. You set me up. You let me walk into that. I stared at him. Then I asked the only question that mattered. Did I tell you to leave me? He froze. Did I tell you to go back to Jules? His jaw tightened. That's not the point. Did I tell you to keep the ring? Silence. You should have stopped me, he said finally. You knew how I think. You wanted it, I said. That stopped him. You didn't want a ring. You wanted a statement. You wanted something people would look at and think you were winning. His breathing changed. You told me it was for your credit, your image, your portfolio, I said. I believed you. You were supposed to love me, he snapped. You were supposed to take care of me, even if I messed up. There it was, the truth. Even if I messed up. I looked at him for a long moment. I did love you, I said softly, but I'm not responsible for the choices you made after that. Celeste stepped forward, wrapping an arm around him. It's okay, she said quickly. We'll fix this. We'll handle it legally. He can't get away with this. My lawyer exhaled quietly beside me. Ma'am, you have your belongings. This is over. The officer nodded. Time to go. Mason didn't move immediately. He stood there holding the box, looking at me like he was waiting for an apology, a reversal, a sign that this wasn't final. I gave him nothing. After a few seconds, he turned toward the elevator. The doors closed, and everything that had been us left with him. The latch clicked. My lawyer stayed for a moment, adjusting his cuff like he had just finished something routine. Well, he said, glancing toward the empty hallway. That went about as clean as it could. I leaned against the wall. Does he actually believe it? That you set him up? Yes. My lawyer gave a small, almost tired exhale. People like him usually do. I didn't respond. Because I had seen it in Mason's eyes. That quiet, unshakable belief that he was the victim in a story he had written himself. He doesn't have a case, my lawyer continued. Not on eviction, not on property, and definitely not on the ring. The ring, I repeated. He nodded. That debt is airtight. His name, his decision, his liability. At best, he tries to drag it out. At worst, he runs out of options. Meaning he either defaults or declares bankruptcy. If that happens, the ring may be surrendered and auctioned off for a fraction of its value. He walks away with nothing except the record. I let that settle, because it felt fitting, not satisfying, just accurate. The interest alone will crush him before that, my lawyer added. Those store credit lines are brutal. After he left, I locked the door. Chain, deadbolt, habit. Then I stood in the entryway. 14 boxes had been there. Now there was nothing. No shoes by the wall. No jacket thrown over the chair, no second set of keys, no presents. Just space. I walked through the condo slowly. The living room, the kitchen, the bedroom. Everything looked the same, but it felt cleaner, like something loud had finally stopped echoing. Later that evening, my sister called. She didn't ask questions. She just said, "You okay?" And for the first time, I answered honestly, "I think I am." There was a pause. "Good," she said, "because he's not." I didn't ask how she knew. She told me anyway. Jules left, blocked him on everything. I closed my eyes briefly, not surprised. "He's trying to fix it," she continued, calling people, asking for help. "His mom's trying to take out another loan to cover the payments, but the jeweler won't negotiate. They want the full amount plus interest." "How much now?" "Last I heard, over 85,000 and climbing." Of course it was, because that's what happens when you build something on image instead of reality. It doesn't collapse all at once. It sinks slowly until there's nothing left to stand on. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet again. This time it felt different. Not empty. Mine. I was still out $25,000. That still stung. It probably would for a while. But the more I thought about it, the more it felt like something else. Not just a loss, a boundary. A line I hadn't known I needed until I crossed it. Mason lost more than money. He lost the illusion. The version of himself he had been trying to sell. The version that needed validation, status, approval. The version that thought a ring could replace respect. And when that illusion cracked, everything attached to it went with it. I stood up and walked to the window. The city outside was the same. Cars moving, lights shifting, people living their lives like nothing had changed. Maybe for them, nothing had. But for me, everything had. I wasn't angry. I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't relieved in the way people expect. I was finished. Finished explaining. Finished fixing. Finished carrying something that was never mine to hold. I looked down at the empty space on my hand. No ring, no mark, no trace. And for the first time, that didn't feel like something missing. It felt like something returned. Something I hadn't realized I had given away. Myself.